Okay, Chandana, all the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, we are live. We can start.
Welcome, everyone. We are here in Mind Health platform, and I'm Chandana Bhuya. I'm a psychologist and a psychotherapist, and I'm going to anchor today's show. And we have with us renowned psychologist and internationally accredited psychotherapist, Dr. Chinu Agrawal, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am, to today's
Thank you.
show.
Thank you so much, Chandana.
It is a privilege and honor to anchor and have a discussion with you on today's day. Today is also World Mental Health Day. So here today we are going to discuss about recruiting mental health professionals in various roles. This session is supposed to be guide for employees, and we are also going to discuss the scope of psychology. The scope of psychology is increasing day by day. People are getting more and more aware, and but yet there is some confusion regarding the roles and the importance of these different roles of psychologists in different aspects of our life and also in the corporate field. So here in today's mind health board we are going to discuss this. So ma'am, let's have the discussion first, and but before going to our main topic I would like you to add some more points regarding your own introduction.
Yeah. So, Chandana, this is a very important occasion today that we are having this program on because today is World Mental Health Day, and post pandemic, mental health is now taking a precedence. And the theme of this year's Mental Health Day is making mental health a priority. So, though psychology is very nascent and it is only now that people are waking up to the importance of psychology in day to day lives, I can see lots of advertisements which are being posted on various social media and print media, where we can see a very clear confusion amongst recruiters as to what is it that they want, because they definitely want some mental health professional on their board, but there is still a lot of confusion and lack of awareness as to whom should they recruit and for what purposes. So mind health approached me to clarify these confusions amongst recruiters, employers, HR heads, and to educate them to clarify their doubts as to what qualification fits in which kind of job role, and accordingly they can design job descriptions, they can make JREs, job requirement expectations, and they can then have a job competency fit to the role that they are advertising, and they can get the right kind of professional in their organization for that specific purpose.
You have pointed out a very important part of it actually. This confusion also arises because of the overlapping of mental health professional titles,
Yeah.
because the roles are not very clear for at least for general population. So ma'am, I want to start the session with the very basic question: who is a psychiatrist, and what is the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and who is a psychotherapist?
Yes. Ironically, many people in our country still call a psychiatrist a psychologist or a psychologist a psychiatrist. And there is a very basic difference between both of them. A psychiatrist is a person who is having a medical degree. So he's a medical doctor. So he has essentially completed his graduation in medicine. He has done his MBBS, and then he has gone on to do his post graduation in psychiatry. Either he has done a MD in psychiatry or DPM, Diploma in Psychiatric Medicine, And he is the person who is supposed to diagnose mental health, mental illnesses, mental disorders, and prescribe medicines. But at the same time, a psychiatrist can also provide psychotherapy if he is trained and supervised in providing that. That
Hmm.
is,
Hmm.
who is a psychiatrist. Now, who is a psychologist? Psychologist is not a medical doctor. So,
Hmm.
psychologists do not have medical degrees and neither do they prescribe medicines. So, psychologists are actually scientists who have done their graduation, post graduation, they might have done their MPhil or they might hold doctoral degrees in psychology. And what they're doing is they're studying the mind and the behavior. So they are studying a wide variety of things about the human being, their brain functions, how they emote, how they think, how they behave, and how they interact with the environment around them. Psychologists are supposed to work both in the field of mental health, that is wellness, and illness. So, psychologists can provide lots of other inputs besides medicines. So, they will not give medicine, but besides medicine, they can help the psychiatrist in diagnosis by doing lots of assessments. They can provide psychotherapy, they can provide counseling, they can provide other things in illness. Plus, they have lots of other roles to play in wellness, which we will be discussing further. Now, one term that creates a lot of confusion is psychotherapist.
Hmm.
So, psychotherapist is simply either a psychiatrist or a psychologist who has received special or advanced training in one or more specific psychotherapies, preferably from a parent institute. So for example, if someone has taken an advanced certification in rational emotive behavior therapy from Albert Ellis Institute, then he can write that I am practicing this psychotherapy and he then becomes a psychotherapist.
Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying this particular aspect specifically because people, I mean, most of the general population are confused between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, but many of them, they are not aware who or what is a psychotherapy. They are not also aware that there are more than 450 different kinds of psychotherapeutic modules that we
Yes.
can use, and they are also not aware that psychology deals with not only behavior and experiences, we also deal with mental processes. And when we talk about mental processes, it is not limited to illness. Actually, it
Exactly.
includes everything from talking, learning, unlearning, forgetting, remembering, everything. So this is a
Yes.
very important point you have highlighted. Thank you so much for that, ma'am. Can you also help us to understand what are the different kinds of postgraduate degrees in psychology? Because because of the today's topic, many people, and also because the field of psychology or the scope of psychology is increasing day by day, many of our students and pursuing candidates wants to know what are the different kinds of postgraduate degrees that are available in our country.
Yeah. So, as I said, let us first distinguish between illness and wellness. And so this gives a framework to the recruiters, to the employers to differentiate for what are you recruiting. So let us say if you are recruiting for getting a diagnosis for help for treating mental health disorders, then you have to look at the illness professionals,
Hmm.
people, psychologists who are working in the field of mental health and they're treating illnesses. So one of the mental health professionals that we have talked about is a psychiatrist. Second is a clinical psychologist. So there can be a MA, a post graduation in clinical psychology. Also, there can be a post graduation in counseling psychology. Now, these clinical and counseling psychologists, they are supposed to understand mental illnesses. They are supposed to study what are the symptoms, what are the presentations, how a particular illness presents itself, and what are the models that can be used to help people in distress. Now, there is a cliche over here. In India, a postgraduate in clinical psychology is not a licensed clinical psychologist. So, to be able to be a clinical psychologist, a licensed clinical psychologist in India, after your post graduation in psychology, it may be any branch of psychology, you have to complete a 2 year regular RCI recognized course that is called as MPhil in clinical psychology, which equips you with the diagnosis, assessments, and treatment in conjunction with the psychiatrist or alone for mental health disorders, psychological as well as emotional disorders. Okay, so to be called as a licensed clinical psychologist, you need to complete an MPhil in clinical psychology in India. So, this is one specialty.
Hmm.
Another, as we talked about, is counseling psychology. And then there are a host of other postgraduate degrees that are available. So, for example, you can become an industrial or an organizational psychologist, where you work with the industries, you work with the organizations, you work with the corporate to enhance the mental health and well being of the employees, of the people that are working in that organization. Also, to do a lot of other allied work in the organization where you can help the people to strategize, to understand human behavior, to understand their consumers, to do advertising, marketing strategies, and in many other areas of the corporate where people management is involved. So that can be one more specialty. And also, before we go ahead and understand more degrees, we need to understand what are the roles that a psychologist can play.
Hmm.
And we can now see that psychologists are in demand everywhere, in every
Yes.
sector.
Yes.
So they can be employed in a medical setup, जहाँ पर we have talked about the psychiatrists and the clinical psychologists and also the counseling psychologists, and also in organizational setups in institutions. So in educational institutions, if we talk about the school setup, we have a postgraduate diploma in guidance and counseling, which is offered by the NCERT.
Hmm.
If you're recruiting a school psychologist, you can look at the degree that is the person MA in psychology, and also has the person done postgraduate diploma in guidance and counseling from NCRT. That can be a very good qualification to advertise for when you are hiring a school psychologist. Also, some private universities nowadays are offering postgraduate diplomas in schools counseling, and Feeling Minds has also offered one such diploma in conjunction with Sam Global University Bhopal recently, where we are helping people who are already having a MA in psychology and who want to enter into school psychology to help them gain a grip on child and adolescent issues, to understand them, to differentiate between what are typical problems and what are problems that need some kind of intervention, and also what kind of things they can do to enhance the emotional well-being of children and adolescents, and also how they can provide parent education in the school setup. So that can be an institutional advantage. Also, we have degrees where psychologists are now needed in the legal systems. So,
mm,
law and judiciary, they
mm,
want to employ psychologists. So, we have forensic psychologists who are able to help the judiciary to see the mindset of the uh, perpetrator and the victim, and whether what sentences can be levied upon them, and whether the crime was intentional, or what, was there any psychological background, from the
mm,
perpetrator's mindset. They are able to look at that.
mm,
And
mm.
also, there are criminal psychologists who
Yeah,
are
psychologist,
having
yes.
a little different profile than forensic psychologists. Criminal
Mm,
psychologists actually help the police in investigating the crime, and
mm,
they see the whole scenario from the criminal's point of view. Here
mm,
we are, in forensic psychology, we are seeing it from the victim's point of view, also from the point of view of helping the judiciary and the legal system
mm,
to fix a
mm,
crime, and to see what kind of sentence can be levied upon, and how we can also rehabilitate the people.
mm.
And when we talk about rehabilitation, we have rehabilitation psychologists,
Yes.
where we have a special, a rehabilitation council of India, which gives registration to rehabilitation psychologists. We also have special educators. We have
Mm,
people who have done a postgraduate diploma in rehabilitation, and they are working in the area of enhancing the functionality and the health status of people with disabilities. So they are specially equipped to assess uh, and to, help the institutions to create special, facilities for people with disabilities. So if you have a person who is having a certain learning disability, then how can you be accommodated in the mainstream by giving you
mm,
certain, additional facilities? So they are rehabilitation psychologists. Also, we have now got engineer psychologists, where psychologists are helping to customize machines to
mm.
enhance the well-being of people. And isn't it amazing that we have psychologists everywhere? Wherever
Yeah.
we want to get, we have psychologists. We have got neuropsychologists who
Yes.
are now ascertaining the neurological basis of behavior, and
Mm,
how we can actually help people to understand how and why they are behaving so.
mm,
Besides this, we also have to look at the academics. So, as I said, in the school setup, in the higher education setup, and uh, even in the field of psychology itself, we need people who can teach psychology. So, along with the MA in psychology, in the school setup, you will need a B.Ed.
mm,
If you want to teach in 11th and 12th standards, you will need to, do your MA in psychology plus B.Ed. Then you can be recruited for the school. In higher education, a PhD is preferred. So, and you can qualify your NET. So then you can be recruited for teaching psychology at the college level. Along with this, there are researchers. So psychologists are researchers. They help organizations, industries, institutions, the government, the policymakers to understand why a certain phenomena is happening, what can we do about it, and they do lots of application based researches. So research degree in psychology is also a PhD.
Okay.
So, psychologists, when you study psychology from BA psychology itself, you have started getting exposed to researchers. In MA, you prepare a dissertation. But
Hmm.
when you want to enter into the research field, PhD is one of the degrees that is required to work in researches. So, these are some of the degrees, postgraduate
Ma'am,
degrees.
you have, very beautifully explained all the parts of it. Yet I have two more questions. Like,
Yeah.
ma'am, what do you mean by applied psychology? Some people are there who has probably done their masters in psychology. Some of them are in clinical psychology, and some of them are like, they have done their masters in applied psychology. So, how to understand what is the difference between psychology and
Applied,
applied
yeah.
psychology?
Yeah, applied psychology focuses more on application of psychology in various areas. So, for example, if you are studying clinical psychology in your post graduation, you're focusing more on the application of psychology in a clinical setup.
Okay.
When you are studying counseling psychology, you're focusing more on applying it in counseling perspective. But when you are studying applied psychology, you are having a varied perspective of applying psychology beyond the clinical, beyond the counseling, into the industry and other related areas as well. So, applied psychology post graduation is when you see a candidate having a applied psychology, you can say that he has not only read the theory, he has also learned how to apply psychology wherever it is required, wherever it is needed.
Okay, thank you for that. Uh, because we were also talking about what kind of institutions are providing different kinds of postgraduate degrees in psychology. So, ma'am, I would really love to hear about Feeling Minds because I know Feeling Minds is doing such a good work all over India. So, Feeling Minds is also offering different kinds of courses. So, can you give us a little more points regarding this information?
Yes. So Feeling Minds is an is a private limited organization incorporate under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, where we are actually helping the psychologists and the professionals in this field to upskill themselves. So, we are providing certificate courses in various psychotherapies like CBT, in REBT, in applying acceptance commitment therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, mindfulness. Chandana, your camera has gone.
Ma'am, I'm here only. Just give me 1 minute. Please continue.
Sure,
Please continue.
sure,
I'm just having a technical issue.
sure, sure. So, dear friends, at Feeling Minds, we are giving certifications to help you upskill yourselves. We have got basic certification programs, advanced supervision based practice programs. Also, we are collaborating with a UGC recognized university to provide diplomas in fields like school counseling, which is very, very needed and coveted. Also, we are providing certificate in conjunction with the UGC recognized university in telecounseling. Besides this, Feeling Minds also provides three entrepreneurship based programs where we are the first organization to help psychologists become relationship consultants. So, we are offering a 6-month comprehensive program where we help you to learn relationship counseling, couple counseling, family counseling, and sexual wellness educator. We also help psychologists to come and work in the field of parenting education. So we have parent educator certification and also career counseling and guidance certification, where people who want to enter in this field can work with scientific knowledge.
Thank you so much. And I'm very, very interested regarding this particular area of relationship counseling, but we have less time. So, I'm keeping that question in my mind so that we can have a full-fledged discussion on that particular area in future. But I'm
Yes.
moving forward to my next question, and that is, what kind of qualification and experience should any organization look for based on their requirement?
Okay. So let me give the recruiters a framework for this.
Hmm.
There are two kinds of things that you should look for. One is the professional competency, and second is the enabling competency. So, when you're
Okay.
talking about the professional competency, you're looking at three aspects. One is the knowledge, the domain knowledge of the candidate. Look at the degree at the postgraduate level. Does it match the requirement in your organization? So, for example, if you want a person to work in the field of school counseling, a degree in clinical psychology may not be relevant to your post. So, just look at the
Mhm.
degree at the postgraduate level. One, then during the interview, you just ask a few questions to ascertain the concept clarity of this person. What kind of conceptual knowledge is this person bringing to the table?
Hmm.
Second is the skills. Knowing is not enough in psychology.
Yes, very
So
true.
you
Very
have
true.
to know how to actually implement it, how to apply the knowledge that you have. You need to have certain skills to do it. So then you have to ascertain the skill part of it. And third is the professional attitude. Is this person bringing in genuine warmth, empathy, and is he able to be, genuine, warm, empathetic, understanding? Is he able to be professional enough to provide his services? That is something that you'll have to assert. Now comes the enabling part of the competency. Here most of the HR people know how to ascertain that. Is this person committed, dedicated to the job? Why has he entered into the field of psychology? You can ask this question. How passionate is he? Does he have the right kind of communication skills? So many of the organizations nowadays are hiring psychologists for creating content or curating content related to mental health. So you need to ascertain whether they have the right kind of communication skills, verbal as well as written. That is an enabling competency besides his knowledge in the field of psychology. They're also looking at people who can help them in digital marketing areas. So here you will have to ascertain whether they have the computer proficiency, they know the video editing part, they know how to use Canva and other applications. So depending on the job role that you have in mind, you will have to ascertain the professional as well as the enabling competencies of the particular candidate.
Yes, I mean, this also leads to some of the more questions that's coming to my mind now. So, what kind of questions actually can help this institute to recognize what kind of role of that psychologist they are looking for? Like, what kind of questions actually help them to understand that they are getting what they require?
Yes. So I think for the professional competency part, the HR panel should include a subject matter expert, because
Yes.
otherwise you will not be able to ascertain whether the person is updated enough, whether the person has got real knowledge about the domain that you are seeking for, and for the skills as well. Now, as far as the commitment part is concerned, the regular questions that the HR asks to other employees when they are recruiting are good enough for these people as well. So maybe you can ask, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? Where you can see how committed is this person for this kind of a job, whether he is coming here as a stopgap arrangement, or whether they really want to contribute, whether they are committed to continue for a period of time. Then you can ask questions like, how do you see yourself working in this field a few years down the line? You can ask them about their strengths, you can ask them about their key improvement areas, you can ask them, what do you read? Because a psychologist is a lifelong learner. If a person is having a habit of reading, what is it that you have read lately? you know will give you a great insight into the habits of this person. Also, you can ask questions like, what if we give you this department? So you can ask them whether they have a vision for the kind of role that you are providing that person. Also, I see a lot of psychologists nowadays aiming for higher education abroad.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
recruiters should be careful while recruiting these people as to what are their long term plans. And I guess if you are recruiting for a long term period, be careful of signing a contract or a bond with these people when you're recruiting them.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have covered almost all parts of how to recruit a psychologist. What are the different kinds of roles of a psychologist that can be played in different areas of our life? Yet we have just 1 single minute. And ma'am, I just would love to, hear from you one takeaway message for everyone. Like, for example, we need more and more mental health professionals on today's date.
Yes.
And why so? I would love you to, highlight
Yes.
that
Thank you so
part.
much for asking this question, Chandana. We are in dire need of mental health professionals in our country, and the ratio is of demand and supply is really screwed up. So we need lots and lots of people to come in this field, and fortunately, they are doing so. The world over, the field of psychology is growing like anything. But besides that, besides entering into a good college and getting a degree, the takeaway message for all the budding psychologists is, invest in your learning, and also be careful about the responsibility that you are shouldering about mental health of other people. Do not practice unscientific practices, do not promote them. There is much that psychology has to offer as an empirical science, evidence based science. Please stick to that if you are a qualified psychologist.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time today, ma'am. And I hope to, have more discussion on different fields of psychology, specifically relationship psychology. Also, because I know you are a TEDx speaker as well, and you have spoke about relationship health in TEDx. So looking forward to that. And thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.